I ran marketing departments in corporate America for 10 years and then ran a digital agency for over another 10 years. So I know the roadmap to online success, and that formula always includes producing content to share your message, from your marketing message to sales and delivery. Hi, I'm Jennifer Neal, and you're listening to the Content Toolbox. I believe the secret to finding and creating raving fans online is through you. In building relationships through stories that share who you really are, create genuine, crazy, raving fans that keep begging you to take their money. And on this podcast, we'll be talking strategies, tactics, tips, and more with myself and other industry experts. So buckle up and start your engines, because it's go time. All right, welcome back, everybody, to another episode of the Content Toolbox. Today, I am super so excited to introduce you to this guy. He is a good friend of mine that I met through, again, a coaching program, and we have hung out on cruises and done some super amazing things. And you guys, he is literally a wealth of knowledge that you are going to want to tap into. So please allow me to introduce to you Mr. Jay Altman. Welcome,
Thank you, Jen. I'm so excited to be here. Yes.
Awesome. I know a little bit about your history from when we have been talking, but give us a recap of kind of where you came from and what you're doing.
You got it. I'll give you the maybe like the 3-minute overview.
Yeah, so let's do it.
All right, you got it. So I grew up in a very small farm town in Northwest Indiana. I grew up poor. My parents divorced when I was young, when I was about 8 years old. Not atypical for a lot of people in America, especially, to have your parents divorced. But my parents divorced, and my mom, my dad was a farmer. My mom was a farmer's wife, which meant she supported my dad in the farm, made meals, and helped the farm go from inside the house. And when she left, she didn't have an income source, so she decided she had a skill of cutting hair, so she decided to start a beauty salon. About a year into that, the beauty salon burnt down, and unfortunately, no business insurance. And this started a cascade of, taking somebody that had virtually no money and borrowed money to start a business. Business burns to the ground. So now you have less than no money, right? So now you have a bunch of debt, you have no business, and here we are. So this started a cascade for over the next 8 years or so. We were evicted, moved 12 times. And in those years, not having access to, a whole bunch of stuff. I mean, there was times I didn't have electricity in the house, didn't have home phone, didn't have bed to sleep in, this kind of thing. But something happened a little while longer down the road. So about in the middle of 8th grade, I moved with my dad. And this created some stability for me. My dad, being the farmer, he always had a stable, very hardworking man. And he, had a stable environment, had this idea of us always working hard, this kind of thing. But my mom has always had this dreamer mentality. About my senior year of high school, my mom introduced me to a company to sell water bottles. This is a multi-level marketing company to sell like a water filtration system. Okay. The cool thing about this is that was one thing that's really cool about a lot of multi-level marketing companies. I know so many people have tried these. Maybe some of the current listeners are involved in them right now, but most of them have really great personal development training systems as part of the multi-level marketing company, which is great. And this particular company used Tony Robbins to help coaching. And so I got my first introduction to Tony Robbins. And one of the key concepts that he talked about and that I was able to learn from was this concept of modeling. Like if you want to make a wheel, don't reinvent the wheel, like model the wheel and try to make it better, that kind of thing. If you wanted to be a millionaire, you don't have to make up how to be a millionaire. You can literally find someone is a millionaire and model something that they have done. If you do something similar, you'll get a similar result, and so on. So whatever it is. So I took that advice, and not knowing really what I wanted to do, I know I had two passions. One passion was around fitness, because I've always been an athlete. I kind of naturally had some talents that way. and I loved it. And the other idea is I loved music, and I couldn't decide out of high school right away like what I wanted to do. But after pondering for a minute, I couldn't imagine like what I would do with music. I couldn't see myself like as a music star. That would seem like way too big, like just way just nothing real about it.
Right.
And I didn't want to be like a band director, something like this. And I can't imagine that life either. And so the only thing I could think about is like I'll do something with athletics. And so I started down a path to become a strength and conditioning coach. This means I wanted to have the job of helping athletes become bigger, faster, stronger. So I went and talked to my guidance counselor at Indiana University, where I was going to school. And she said, look, unfortunately, there's not a curriculum in the country that teaches how to do this. That said, here at Indiana, we have one of the best strength coaches, literally, in the United States. In fact, he's also a head strength coach with the USA Olympic team and so on. I'm like, wow, that sounds really cool. And so she suggested that I go and interview him. And so I took some questions actually out of a Tony Robbins book, went and interviewed him. So, yeah, essentially, with the concept of modeling, right? Okay, if he has my dream job, I'll just go ask him, like, what did you do to get this dream job? And then I will do something similar. And that's what I did. That landed me my first job at Indiana, where I worked as a strength coach for a few years. And then ultimately, one of the basketball players from Indiana got drafted up to Minnesota. I came up here, did some work as his private personal trainer. In addition, worked as a strength and conditioning coach with the Minnesota Timberwolves performance team. And what happened is, I started then attending all the Timberwolves games. And at attending all the Timberwolves games, I ended up meeting a guy who sat down around the bottom of the arena, asked one day if I would be his private trainer. We figured out a way to make that happen. And from there, what happened is one day in about April, he said to me, he was all upset coming in for his workout, and he's all upset. And I said, well, why are you so upset? What's going on? And he said, well, I just got this tax bill, and I won't say the exact number, but it was a 6-figure tax bill. And like the first thought I had, he was upset. And the first thought I had was like, how in the world did you make so much money that you have to pay a 6-figure tax bill? I've never even earned 6 figures in my life at that point. I was like, how did you do this? Tell me more. Right. And he went on to tell me that he started his career as a radio DJ. Noticed the people driving the nice cars were the sales and marketing people.
Yeah.
And so he changed his track to sales and marketing and ultimately rose to the top of the company. And he had earned a 7-figure bonus. And this is how he needed to pay a 6-figure tax bill. And after being blown away, I'm like, that light bulb went off in my head. No matter what you do, you got to know the sales and the marketing. That's where, if you want to make some money. And I did. I wanted to make money. I grew up, no money, and I wanted to have money. That was my first initial goal. Make the money. I was like, I wanted to make the money. And so that led down a track of me going to conferences like some of the ones that you and I have attended together.
Yep.
And naturally, what would come up in conversation to this client and some others that he introduced me to is business. And these guys are all high-level business people. And one day, one of them asked me to come and we were talking about marketing. And he said, would you ever come and talk to my marketing department and tell them exactly what you just told me? And I said, I would love to. So that started down a path of me going to talk to their marketing department for the 1-hour kind of presentation, trying to shift their ideas in their marketing. I got paid $5,000 to do this 1-hour presentation. And I thought, another light bulb went off. Like, whoa, okay, this was a lot of fun. And it pays really, really well, way better than the training and some of the stuff that I had done up to this point in my career. And so then that obviously then just turned to I started telling some of my other business, other clients who are also businessmen about what I did. And they said, well, if you did that for him, wouldn't you come and do that for us too? And I said, of course. And so anyway, that led one thing to another to where largely where I am today, where I have combined working with ultra wealthy and wealthy businessmen and entrepreneurs and combined that with my own journey of coming from a nothing to becoming a self-made millionaire, or, say self-made, but, take that for whatever it's worth, because made with a lot of care and direction and help of many, many other people. But yeah, so you get that. And largely what I focus to today is working with entrepreneurs who are making 6 figures, who are looking to scale to 7 figures, and they're looking to make more impact onto the lives of the people that they serve. Yep. And they're also looking to be happy. And so anyway, so that's the gist. That's kind of where I am today and what's going on.
So awesome. I mean, and that's the dream for all entrepreneurs, right? Like that's, you guys want
potentially. Yeah. I mean, I love talking to entrepreneurs because I don't necessarily know what someone's dream is, but because each entrepreneur is a little bit different. I consider myself a lifestyle entrepreneur, which means I do my businesses so that it supports the lifestyle that I want to have.
Yep.
I meet other entrepreneurs who they just want all the money they can possibly make, and they're on a one-track mission for that. And it may have nothing to do with their lifestyle. It may have nothing to do with their impact. There's some other things. Anyway, there's other entrepreneurs that do things that are for social justice, something like this, or nonprofit style entrepreneurs who just have something in their heart. It's nothing to do with the money, but they want to do something that really can make a difference. Anyway, that said, there's multiple different types of entrepreneurs. So I guess for you listening out there, if you're not sure about what kind of entrepreneur you are, and you are an entrepreneur, I think it could be a place to just think about why are you an entrepreneur? What does it mean for you? What does it equal for you? What do you want from it? And
why are we putting ourselves through this day after day?
100%. Because if you're initially for me, I wanted the money, and once you get to a certain level of money, then you really begin to realize that there's not anything to do with happiness once you get beyond a certain amount of money. I think the research suggests anything past $75,000-$80,000 a year doesn't contribute to happiness. Now I might argue a little bit differently for that, but for just a little bit more, depending on where you live. Because if you live in, say, New York City or San Francisco, that's
right,
kind of nothing. But if you live where I grew up in Northwest Indiana, that's living like a king for sure. Yeah. So anyway, maybe depending on where one lives, that amount can change for happiness. But the point is, at a certain level of money, no longer does the money contribute to the happiness factor. That comes from giving, and then it's essentially contributing and giving of what it is yeah, and sharing that.
Oh, fantastic. I mean, and it's so easy, I think, as entrepreneurs to fall into just the I just want to go after just the money. I mean, maybe that's the kind I am or whatever, but to lose sight of the why and the reason that you felt impassioned in the beginning to even start a business, because this is not an easy life.
It certainly, it can be very tough, especially if, kind of to your point there, if you're not sure why you're doing it, or if you're doing it for the money, but then if you get the money and then you're okay, then it can just kind of feel like an obligation.
Right.
And instead of that thing, you feel like you wake up and it's I can't wait to go serve again.
Right.
Right. Yeah. And at some point, I know my own journey was I wanted the money. And then at a later point, I remember I really started to want to do it to be able to serve deeper. And I still wanted the money, but I wanted to serve deeper. And the silly thing is that the more I focus on just serving to the people that I work with that hire me, the deeper the more money comes. Yeah. And it feels completely silly. Where initially I was I was after the money, and I was trying to do just enough to get the money, but my focus was on getting the money. It wasn't on the service.
The service, yeah.
But when I switched to focus on the service, I get more money.
Yep.
But the focus is on the service. Anyway, it felt completely backwards to me, going, if I remember back to wanting the money, I thought I just needed to focus on the money.
Right.
And at some point, those were kind of entangled, and I had to really try to discover like kind of inside my own heart, like, what is it that I really want? Where is it? Can I really serve deeper, more meaningfully? And that kind of idea.
Yeah.
And then kind of having that wrestle where like because one part of me was still all about the money. One part of me was kind of starting to get into my heart, but I wasn't there yet. And it was like, and I still go back and forth sometimes, like with this idea, like, yeah, I want to go after this next level of money, or I want to go this next, this next deeper level of serving.
Yep.
And anyway, so they're entangled better today for me than ever. But I definitely remember going backwards at some point. They were disjointed for sure.
Oh yeah. And I think it's important to kind of have an eye on both, but yeah, to keep that in mind. And actually I'm curious, for yourself and when you're working with clients, is there, I'm going to shift this into messaging because that's
absolutely
not here with content, but when you kind of discover or rediscover or just remember like the why, why you actually started this, when you get to that, how am I going to serve? Are you finding that it's easier to create messaging when you're leading from that place of like, here's how I want to serve?
No doubt about it. So like, and to take that like maybe one notch deeper, like let's say for example, if you're my client and I have my whys for like why I want to do and how I want to do it. But if I really understand your whys for what it is you want and what it is you're doing, and I make all my messaging really speak to what it is you want, that's what I found, can really work very well. So this goes back to, like in business, if you are not clear on who it is you're serving, whether that's one specific individual or that's a specific individual that represents, a million other people that you want to serve, if you're not really, really clear on who that person or people are, or who that man is, who that woman is, what their age is, what they like, like kind of knowing everything about them, what makes them tick, what do they really want, what is the thing that really bugs them, what are the things that if they could snap their fingers and have everything they want, what is that? And if you align the messaging and really just speak to them in an honest way, like, and I guess I found in terms of content, producing content, messaging that really, really works, it's authenticity. And I think today in more than ever before, maybe in the history of the world, there's so much messaging, there's so much noise. If you go onto, whether it's Facebook or Google or YouTube or, you name the channel, there's so much noise and you can, it's not hard for any of us to sniff out when it's just people are pumping out content, but there's nothing about the content that feels like authentic. There's no story there that supports the content. It's kind of like you kind of just don't want to hear it, or your brain almost just kind of starts to tune that out. It's not meaningful to you. Right.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I think about like for me, it's, for me in my own business, like with I don't work with large groups of people in my coaching business. So like I have my my business coaching business, and I only work with individuals, high net worth individuals, and they pay me big chunks of money. And for that big chunk of money, I will go in and like, I want to really, really care. It's not that and I do actually care. Now, and this is the thing, I actually do care. In fact, sometimes I feel like I get caught up more in my customers' business, my clients' businesses than my own. Like I really, I feel like, I get so excited for them and like, but I'm into it, man. I'm like so into it. And which is a different kind of business than say like my wife's business, which we have a fitness business that then escalates up to a health coaching business where she coaches groups of women in particular, a few men in there, but mostly she targets to women. She speaks right to busy women, have a couple kids, and her business is different. She because she serves large groups of people.
Right.
I guess I should say, just because she speaks to large groups of people doesn't mean she's talking to everybody when she's talking. She actually has one person in mind when she's talking to those groups of people, and all the messaging happens by talking to the one person, which is the ideal avatar.
Yep.
And then that messaging, we try to replicate.
Yeah.
Yeah, like make all the talking points come through kind of as you're talking to this one specific person.
Yeah, it's so true. And I know like the niching down, I mean, find your who and niche down, like focus there. And I know we keep hearing it, but it's rare to even find the people that have even actually gone through that process. But I think, like you said, is like, it's so important because not only being aware of your own why am I doing this? How do I want to serve? But then finding their why and their pain points, then yeah, the messaging completely, it's like it writes itself.
It does. I think, I forget who said it. Maybe you'll know, but like there's some kind of a saying that says something like this. If you're not speaking to one person and you're trying to speak to a bunch and you're speaking to no one, it goes something like that.
Yeah.
Right. But like, because your message won't resonate to anybody. But if you literally are speaking to one person, your message will resonate to a whole bunch of others that are just like that person. Plus, it will actually capture a fringe amount of people on the outside of that anyway, even though you're not directly speaking to them.
Yep.
You still will capture them. They will feel like you understand them. You get them.
Right. Because you've told a story and you're connecting on an emotional level.
That's it. You're literally speaking from your heart to their heart.
Oh.
And it's so easy in business to just, give like a 3-step thing or a 5-step thing and just come from the head level, speaking to someone else's head level, and it doesn't actually then connect. Like that kind of messaging can happen once someone is your customer.
Right.
Then that type of messaging works really well, especially with someone who's busy. They appreciate like a 3-step process, a 5-step system, or something. But initially, a lot of, depending on the business, but most businesses, service-based businesses, which I think a lot of the audience is maybe like you're trying to provide a product or service. If you speak from your heart to their heart, now they're hearing you. Their ears have turned on. They've opened up.
Yeah,
you're getting attention.
So
go ahead.
I'm curious. Do you have a process or model that you use for yourself and for clients in kind of like figuring out this why and what their heart is saying?
100%. Like, in fact, it's like the whole first part of my process, and it's a part of a process that I review, whether it's a client that's literally a billionaire or a client that's just making their first 6 figures and trying to go from 6 figures to say 300,000 or 300,000 up to the million, something like that. The exact same process over and over and over. And the process goes like this. It starts with actually just getting really clear. And when I say getting clear, there's as an entrepreneur, it's getting clear on 2 different things. One is your personal self. So, and the second is your business self. Do you want me to expand a little bit on the
go for it?
Okay, you got it. So on getting clear on the personal side, I'll start with a specific personality test called the Hexaco test. And this specific, it's free. Anybody can just Google Hexaco. I think it's hexaco.org. You can go take the test. But in it, there's a part of that test that correlates higher than any other test that I know of that speaks to entrepreneurship. And so like that's one place. Also, we'll do like a health assessment questionnaire. As you know, to be an entrepreneur requires a tremendous amount of energy. And so if you are not a healthier version of yourself, you're not going to have your best energy. And as you get healthier and healthier, you can have more energy. And so we'll do this health assessment questionnaire. This goes back to my own training going back, 10, 15 years back when I was doing functional medicine work with my business clients to help them be their best self for the best energy. We also do body fat, or we'll take a belly measurement. As an example, like around your belly button, if you took the measurement there, if that measurement is greater than half of your height, so like if you're 70 inches and your belly measurement is 35 inches or higher, the CDC says you will have heart disease. Not maybe, not that you might, not that your risk go up, but in fact that you will.
Wow.
And so these are some things on the personal side that are important to kind of know of oneself. We also take a look at personal net worth. every person I've ever met with ever, and I ask about net worth. Yeah, let's get that to go up. Right. It's like, yeah, let's make that go up.
Nobody's
that'd be
ever
a good
like,
thing.
yeah, I think I could decrease.
Right. Or like, but the reality is most people that I know like don't actually know. They don't know what their personal net worth is. So we get some clarity on that. So we can stand in our truth. We'll get some clarity on relationships. Like we go through this process to get clarity on personal relationships and business relationships, so we can see where maybe we need to focus and maybe where we need to sever relationships or just change them in a way to support the goals of the entrepreneur. We'll also go through a process where we look at a perfect average week, perfect average work week. So this is not like, your ideal vacation, something like this.
Right.
The perfect average week is a process I take entrepreneurs through where we look at what happens in the morning, like kind of the morning routine, and we really dive deep into this. Then we go through the perfect average Monday and Tuesday and Wednesday. Each day likely looks different.
Wow.
So that by the time we get to the end of a week, and we do the same for the nighttime for all those days, but by the time we get to the end of the week, we have mapped out a perfect average week, like how we would want it to go ideally, which pretty much never happens. But when you have a map to follow, you have something to try to get back to, kind of a reference point that you're aiming for. And then we do an energy assessment so we can make sure, just see where energy is. And we have a whole assessment process that we go through for energy and a process to increase energy because everybody wants to increase their energy.
Right.
But how do you do that? Right. On the business side, so that's personal. On the business side, the clarity points we try to get clear on are things like a profit margin. And as a business owner, we want profit margin for the last 3 months. What's profit margin the last 6 months? The last year, so we can get some kind of a story. Starts telling a story of maybe the business was great a year ago, maybe it's terrible today, or maybe it's vice versa. But it gives us a story of recency and a story of history, so we can really get clear on what is today. We'll also look on like top line growth. Maybe maybe the story is revenue's growing up, so top line's going up, but profit's going down. Maybe it's for a good reason. Maybe it's because we're investing a lot of money right now back into the business. So there's not much profit to be had right now, but you're doing it so that for future growth of the business. Anyway, all these are to get clarity about what is right now. The business model and value ladder, like depending on what somebody's business is, and make sure that their overall business model is strategically set up in a way that makes sense. That if it's a value ladder style business, that you have something at the low end that makes perfect natural sense to escalate to the next logical thing that goes into the next logical thing. Like in a service-based business, it may be something that somebody takes for free or for low dollars, and then maybe they go to a course that's $99 to $300, and then from the course they get into some group coaching that maybe is $1,500, something like that. Then the last level is private coaching, but they all teach the exact same thing, just at different levels of service. Yep. But a lot of businesses, again, don't have a value ladder, or don't have something that provides continuity where you can ding somebody's credit card on a month by month basis, or every 3 month by 3 month basis, or every day basis, depending on your business. We also look at estimated business value. Like, if you were going to sell your business today, is it even sellable? And if it is, like, what can we say it's actually worth? What are those assets inside the business? Maybe the overall business is not great, but you have a really great content marketing delivery system, and that part of the business is very valuable. That by itself can be an asset. Or maybe you're really good at keeping track of certain KPIs, and so you've created these systems to keep track of your own KPIs, and that by itself could be a sellable part of the business. Or maybe the whole thing together is worth X dollars. Wow. Getting clarity on who someone sells to. And to your point, most businesses are not clear. They want to, with a scarcity mindset, the idea is I need to sell this thing to everybody. And probably a person's business could make an impact onto a whole bunch of businesses, but it's way too hard as a small business, especially. It's even hard as a really big business, but it's especially hard as a small business to try to be everything to everybody. You just can't even do it. Yep. A person, I won't name her name, but works for one of the top 5 ad agencies in the world. Now I know in their business, they had the idea that they would, and this business only does TV ad spots, or did only do TV ad spots. Okay. Now they had it like, if we do the TV ad spot, why don't we just bring in-house, and we'll also pick the TV ads, we'll put them on YouTube, and then we'll take that same content and we'll do a strategy on Facebook and, you know, all the other channels, right? When they did that, what happened is what they noticed is that the quality of their work started going down, because the same team now is getting, you know, they're just getting spread thin on the content. So they're losing their focus to doing the very best of the best of the best job at making a TV spot. And so after a couple of years of trying to be the TV spot, the YouTube, the Facebook, and so on, they decided, nope, no more. All that's going to go. And now we're coming back. This is a top 5 ad agency in the world. So even an ad agency at that scale, if they have trouble doing content strategy across all the platforms, then you imagine for, you know, most businesses, anything smaller than that, it's very, very tough. To make that happen. We can, you know, anyway. So that said, better to be a specialist into an area and go deep than to be a generalist and go wide.
Yeah. Oh my goodness.
So anyway, back to the, I guess on the business is really, once you have your who it is you sell to, and then what it is that you sell, so you could say it literally in a minute, and then you use you know, kind of the Dream 100 strategy that you're aware of, where you essentially try to think about the easiest ways to sell this for free, and then how do you do it with paid campaigns and so on. And then what business are they modeling? You know, back to my Tony Robbins idea, like, what business are you modeling? What business, or maybe 2, are you modeling? So we don't have to reinvent the wheel, but we can model and see what they're doing, and then we could do something similar, make our tweaks to make it our own, and then move forward. Anyway, so that's step number 1.
Just step number 1.
Yeah. But it was truly, until that is really, really clear, until the entrepreneur themselves is clear on themselves and clear on their business, it's very difficult to create content that matters, content that's meaningful, that people actually hear. Because that is the like what I just described is so foundational. It's so foundational, and without a strong foundation, all the other stuff on top gets kind of lost. It's not that you know, I've worked with some businesses now that are that 6-figure trying to come up, and what I've realized more than anything is that they're trying to do everything, and I got to get them all the way down to just doing 1, 2, or 3 things that actually really matter. So I'm trying to filter out all the noise, all the stuff they think they should do, that they're supposed to be doing, and get it down to just 2 or 3 things that actually matter a lot, and then really go deep on those.
Such fantastic advice. And what I love is, like, you're not just looking at business. Like, you spent all of that stuff on personal, looking at you personally, and then all of those different facets of business, and using all of that to really have an understanding of, here's who I serve and here's how I do it.
100%. And the way that came to be, Jen, is like, everybody's probably heard this saying, be, do, have, right? Be, do, have. And I kept hearing it. And then it came to me one day that, like, you know, a lot of people do this backwards. They'll say something like, well, if I just had enough money, then I could do the marketing I know I'm supposed to do. And then finally I'd be the person I need to be. And I thought, but that's like all the way backwards, because every single, like, my wealthiest clients, you know, wealthiest being a $6.4 billion net worth, like, the way that client came to be, to have that net worth, he didn't have the money first, and then so he could do the things and then be the person. It is the 100% the opposite way. It's how do you be the person that can do the things, and then that equals having the thing. So like the have, anyway. So like, getting back to the personal, like the why I started focusing on the personal side of things is because if the person doesn't have energy, they can't think clearly. If all these things about them personally are not lined up, they won't be able to do even all the things they know. I mean, today information is cheap, so you can find pretty much how to do about anything for free, right, these days. But you still may not have the energy. I mean, like almost 100% chance, most people listening do not have the energy or the focus to be able to do the things they already know. And that all has to do with personal development, which is part of the be, do, have. So so if I do a strong focus on the be side, or I would say at least equal focus on being who you need to be. So that if I teach somebody that I need you to do this thing, that I know that they have enough belief in themselves, that we've developed them so they have enough energy, and then start creating belief. It's so much about being able to do something and just believing that if I say that I'll do it, that I actually will do it. Because most humans say they'll do the thing, but then actually don't. And then what happens, that creates self-doubt. It's like, I know I said I was going to do it, but I just didn't do it, and whatever.
Right.
And then it's a cycle, and that cycles where people then have less belief in themselves. They know what to do. They get excited in a moment. And then if they mess up even once by not doing the thing, then it's kind of like, forget it. That's for the other people, not for me.
Right.
But
Wow.
Anyway.
That's so incredible. Oh my gosh. There's just so much in here, and I know we're running up on time, but I'm curious because I'm looking at this from like your initial story.
Yeah.
When you way back when you're first like, what do I want to do? Well, I know I'm interested in fitness, and you got exposed to Tony Robbins, so you can see like all the different facets of what makes us us. And you also were into the music industry. So I see everything but the music industry / probably creativity incorporated into what you've done here, like your entire essence in how you're leading people. Is there an element also that you pushed for in terms of creativity?
Yeah, it's a great question. So just to, I know I haven't talked about it today at all, but literally there's almost not an hour that goes by in a day that music is not incorporated into my life. I literally use it when I wake up. I use it through the day. I use it to get my alpha brainwaves going. I use it to my coaching clients. I send music. I dabble on the side with some DJ software, and I make music to try. Actually, just last week, I took one of my coaching clients, a person but I made a soundtrack that in the morning he's to listen to it, and over top of it, we're creating all these I am statements. So, I am a marketer, I am an entrepreneur, I am a father, I am all these things, all the things that he is. So we're really trying to stimulate identity, but I'm doing it using a music soundtrack underneath that uses binaural beats underneath it to get the brain in an open and receiving spot to do this. So music is still like, music is like my soul. It really is, like, it's in my soul. And so like, no matter what client I've worked with, I've never not given music as part of my training to work with them, whether it's a meditation with music underneath it as they're going to sleep, or some music in the morning that reminds them of who they are and what they're doing and why they're doing it, with music that gets, with a driving beat, something that really gets that to instill into the deepest part of their brain, into that subconscious part of the brain. So they really, people don't get their goals, they get their identity. And so so part of my coaching is to try to drive the identity so deep that they can't help themselves but to do the thing, because their identity says that's who they are. And so they can't help, even if they didn't feel like, say, exercising, for example, that they just find that they put one foot in front of the other because they, I am an exerciser. If that's really is part of who they are, then they don't let it go. And vice versa, if their identity is, I am not an exerciser is miserable, that would be the same. And it's the same for marketing. If I am a marketer, then what do marketers do? They market. And so if my coaching client, if their identity literally says they're a marketer, they have no choice but to do marketing on a regular, consistent basis. And so anyway, thank you for that question. But I love music, and music is a big part of my day. It could be at dinner where you listen to some maybe chill music at dinner, or anyway, all that. My family makes fun of me all the time for always having music on.
Well, I just love it because you talked about your whole history and like how that's worked in, and
Yeah.
I figured it had to be in there, so that is fantastic. And
Yes.
also, what I love from that even more is that like as you're talking through it, I'm hearing that the importance of your messaging starts with your messaging to you, and not as a marketer, or not to grow the business. It's the most important thing is to start with your own internal messaging.
1,000,000%. Getting clear on who it is you are, clear on why it is doing what you're doing, and all the things that we talked about previously. Like when you have clarity, it's even if you don't like the clarity, not liking the clarity is good because it then gives you a reason to do something about it. But getting clarity at least gives you a place to stand on this solid foundation of truth. And then from that truth, you can take those next steps in an authentic kind of way. And then you know, like you were saying earlier, like knowing who it is you serve and knowing why what they're up to and why they want what they want. Now your messaging, it will flow out of you in a way that
that's authentic and resonates. And
that's it right there. That's
genius. Oh, awesome. Okay.
Awesome.
I have a fun question for you.
Okay.
I love this one. What is one of the most surprising things that's happened to you personally that you didn't expect since you decided to start your own business?
That was a great question. Gosh, there's been so many surprises. It's silly. But I would say, it's easier looking backwards, saying what's been the most surprising. But it probably is like what I already shared. I mean, it's always weird to look backwards on a journey, like coming from like no money, small town farm boy to where I'm at today. Like the whole thing is surprising. But I guess, like my first client, how I was able to land that first client being still broke, but I did have great skills. Like at the point that I met him, like I knew that I had I had zero question in my mind that I could help any human on the planet get bigger, faster, stronger, healthier, like all those things. Those were I'd studied hard. I did all the work getting to that point.
Yeah.
And, but when the light bulb moment happened that, he went from radio DJ to be sales and marketing, I just have to feel like, whether you believe in God or the universe or how you might want to call that, but like there's some kind of a guidance there that helped me, that allowed for me to be in that moment at that time with that guy, to be able to steer me to next level. And that's one, but it's pretty weird really to think about that, like how like me found like get in front of this guy. And like the other thing is like, to work with like my wealthiest client that I've ever worked with is, from Minnesota, wealthiest guy in Minnesota, period. Like, 6.4 billion. That's 3 times like Oprah Winfrey. Like,
wow.
What? Like, how did like small town farm boy even get a chance to say boo to this guy? I mean, this just weird. It's very weird to think about. And so I go backwards, and it's just always been a focus to doing a great job with the person in front of me at that moment. But it's all weird. It's all weird.
No.
It's weird to me.
It is the surprising thing.
It's very surprising. I mean, like, anyway, yes. I love that question.
Awesome. Okay, so if people want to find out more about you or how you can help or whatever, where can we send them?
Yep, this is part of my simplicity. It's one spot. It's jayaltman.com, JAYALTMAN.com. That's
Perfect.
the one spot.
Yeah. Awesome. And you guys will make sure that link is included here below. And go follow all things Jay, because as you can tell, he's amazing.
Thank you, Jen. I appreciate you.
Any final words of wisdom before we depart?
I don't know. I guess if I could say anything to anybody is to work on believing in yourself. For myself and with anybody I've ever worked with, work on your own personal development so that you can believe in yourself. You believe in yourself, and then, like anything that you literally want is yours, period.
Absolutely. Amen to that.
Yes.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for being on the show, Jay. I really do appreciate it. And you guys make sure that you go check out Jay's site and get involved because he's pretty stellar.
Appreciate you, Jen.
Awesome. Thanks.